Alright guys, welcome back. So this is going to be the start of a new little mini series, and what we're going to be doing is, usually I call it the correction series, but of course on my GLC back there we can't do any correction because it's matte paint. So we're going to be doing wash, protection, all that sort of stuff. So I'm going to break it down into more in depth. So what I'm starting to transition towards is a more granular kind of sense of content. So when, let's say, we're going to be doing an engine bay video, what we're going to do is talk more about us, so me, Kelly, the business, whilst performing tasks. So over obviously like 10 years now, I've learned a lot of things. So I'm going to give you even more knowledge. So for that final 2% push to get us up to the 99% that is obviously viewed on YouTube, we're going to go deeper, harder, all that sort of stuff. So while I've got my little camera on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to, obviously while we get the static stuff ready, I'm going to just quickly walk you around. I'm just cooling down the engine bay because obviously I've driven this in, but it's not, obviously it's not too hot. So the way this is going to work is we're going to do, because obviously we are going to be missing compounding, refining, obviously double refining if it needs to. We're going to miss all of this on the car because you can't do it. So instead what we're going to do is we're going to give you more detail on, so engine bays, wheel and tire cleaning. Obviously we can't clear this car either, but we're going to do a full decon. So I'm going to explain how to obviously, well, I'm going to show you how I decon. That's the more kind of accurate way. I'm going to show you how I decon kind of my matte paint car. But while the little camera is on, I'm going to show you. So this will be the first time the engine bay ever gets touched from me. It's dirty. It's certainly not clean. So you can see it's probably from the previous owner, or, well, by the looks of it, this has never been cleaned before. So that's the engine bay. Again, people say I clean clean cars. Trust me, this ain't clean. So yeah, look, it is bad. Obviously we need to flush the archwork as much as we can, because again, look, this is carpeted. So we want to try and get as much of this out prior to kind of it going in. So yeah, the car is dirty. The rear end will be even worse. Whew. Obviously the big 4-wheel drive car, kicking up some serious dirt. So engine bay is going to be first. This is what's going to be on this video. So we're going to, how would you clean, again, I've never seen this engine, well, obviously I've seen it, but I've never kind of touched it. This has never been touched by myself. How do you do a dirty engine bay? It's not the dirtiest engine bay you will ever see in your life, but for me, it's filthy. But while we're talking about dirt, why don't we look about a little bit about clean? Look at this little thing. Looks, whew. She's looking lovely. Look at that dressing. Now that's a tire dressing. That's how a tire should look. Not too shiny, not too matte, there's some between. So while the engine bay is cooling down, I'm going to show you some cool stuff that we're working on. So again, one of our bucket fillers, we've been working on this for so long. There's a lot of cheap alternatives starting to come to the market. Obviously, Matt from Obsessed, he is the initial kind of originator of this. This was never a thing. He's just pieced together a few things to make something really cool. And again, super high quality, super expensive. It's the way I like it. Now, with this, we are also working on quite an expensive solution because the materials that we're using aren't cheap. So we've got some quick disconnects on here, which obviously I've got loads in there. We took a lot from America. However, obviously we're not yet selling them because I'm still testing this. So I'm sat on a little bit of stock, which I actually can't move yet. But they are really good. So obviously I'm testing this through myself. The quick disconnect system itself isn't going to actually change at all. So luckily most UK taps are kind of like the same thread. So obviously they'll fit on there. Now, in terms of the fully metal wire, it's a difficult one because how deep do you go with this? So look, there's a disconnect. It looks really cool. You can put it back on like this. So basically almost like a foam cannon. So what I like to do is I just put this underneath. Now the biggest thing I like about this is what you will find with the cheaper alternatives. That's all I will say is the cheap alternatives, the spray patterns aren't actually that good. Now, if you could, I'm going to try and get the camera in here while it's filling. Now, if you look at the spray pattern here, it looks really uniform, really nice. It's actually pulsing, which is so cool. So obviously, as you're seeing, it's feeding water in a certain way. Really, really wide fan, which is what I like. And obviously, it can be adjusted. It could be a full stream. It could be like obviously as I've got it now on a full fan. So what I like, the reason for this bucket filler, the plan for this is we're still waiting for a few parts to come in. I'm going to be building out a system here. So obviously this is going to completely move over there. But while obviously, because we've got the 1152, I'm going to be using another machine which is behind me there, so I'm not going to ruin the surprise for you. We are developing a lot of things. We've got the Cobra jets again. There's going to be a little bit of work being filmed very shortly as well on the Karcher system, which again, the Karcher's got a big market in the UK. So that's one of the things that we're working on. It's super high grade stainless steel. All the quick disconnects are from Italy, which is exactly what you want. It's just a good system. This is going to completely change. We're going to get standalone taps here. Again, this is all going to be filmed. But for now, I'm kind of in between a transition. So I've kind of pieced together something that is acceptable for now. Obviously, from the tap end down, it's exactly what's going to kind of be. All of this obviously is going to get ripped out when our plumbers, because the plumbing system is all going to have to get changed anyway. And we're going to plumb it a whole different way. So there's the bucket filler. As you see, I don't have to control it. It's still filling it. And then once I get to an acceptable level that I like, all I do is I take it off, turn it off, let the bit of the PP dribble continue, and your buckets are full. All right, so engine bay time. It's cool to the touch. I like to leave it open for anywhere between 30 to 40 minutes. Obviously, if it was raining, I wouldn't do it, but then I wouldn't be doing this anyway if it was raining. So I've kind of timed this correctly. I am the weatherman of Mansfield. I check every day as and when I can do outside work. So what I'm going to do is I've got the bucket, wheel woolies, all that type of good stuff in there, and we've got our undress. Now, I've got the foam cannon filled up as well. I may foam it, I may not, I'm not too sure. I may just rinse it down first, obviously hit it with the undress, agitate it, and then see kind of where we're at with it. Now, as I said, I'm testing some new things. This is my new nozzle assembly again. This won't be copied very easily this time. I revealed what I'm developing 10 months before I launched the first nozzle assembly, and then it went and got ripped off. So unfortunately, that's the way of life nowadays. So yeah, this is a new orifice and a new kind of pressure system. German built, obviously German manufactured, super high quality, super expensive as always. I wish this cost 20p, you know, it'd be so much easier, but unfortunately it's not. But let's have a look. The fan seems a little bit tighter, but I'll see how it looks on the car as well. So again, We're going to rinse this down, just make sure there's obviously nothing exposed. Obviously that's air vents anyway, so yeah, I'm just going to give it just a generic rinse and we're going to crack on. Obviously this car's been in a body shop as well to get our bonnet resprayed, due to obviously when we picked it up there was a few marks on there, so I know there's going to be a lot of body shop dust in here as well. Yeah, the fan's nice, look. I'm rolling at about, I've got this at a 5.0 orifice, so I've actually gone higher than I should. So basically I'm decreasing even more pressure, but I'm increasing flow because that's what I want. I want as much water as possible. Look, there's just a little bit of steam. It might be warm underneath a little bit. So yeah, I've just checked. I am actually getting a true reading of 1250 psi, which is exactly what I like. Not too much pressure. You want flow over anything. Flow is king. A lot of people always quote to me, oh, I've just bought this car, Nilfisk, Kranzel even, and it's rated at this bar, this PSI. Look, to get that sort of, that's the optimum kind of numbers, or the maximum, let's say, and that's what they always put. But you never wash your car, bike, van, whatever you wash, at the maximum PSIs, ever. And if you do, you're doing it wrong. So I would recommend always to chase flow rate over pressure, because the pressure, especially on a Kranzel, can always be adjusted. All right, so as I said, I've got my industrial 750 Prezol, and here I've got loaded up neat undress. Yeah, it's starting to turn a little bit brown as well. That's quite cool. Only a few areas. So basically I'm hitting as much as I can. I'm going to go deep in there, let the liquid actually run down, because that's what you want. Right. So I am going to show you something new, but I'll probably be on the wheels if I'm honest. So again, I'm testing a new set of brushes. From the US. So on this one, I'm gonna use a combination. So basically, this is boar's hair, white, stiff bristle. The reason I'm doing this is I want a little bit more bite, and also, you know, in the grooves. In fact, I'm going to bring you in closer. So for example, in these grooves here, they're like lines or linear, so it might be easier to see it here. I just want as much non-splayable fibers as I can. It's just a personal preference. I'm going to bring out my soft brush in a second anyway, so I'm not going to hit the whole engine bay with this, because it actually takes slightly longer. But you really want to take your time with this. So obviously, if you've got a new car, this will be one easy, but you'd want to do this from new, because after this, it's easy maintenance. So, like sometimes you can even get away with a pressure rinse, redress it with the way I'm going to show you in a second. The famous way that made it famous in the UK. Everybody was losing their minds over it. And then just close the bonnet. But in this case, obviously, due to the previous owner clearly not taking any effort, we kind of have to go a little bit deeper. There's a lot of dirt and a lot of dust. If you do it once, you might as well do it right. And also, the most important thing, it's for future maintenances. I could probably hit this engine bay once a month then with water, like I've just said. So I've got the soft brush out now. I prefer the soft brush over the hard brush for 90%, maybe, okay, yes, 75, 80%, I'll be more realistic. But in terms of my normal cars, I use the soft bristles all the time. It's always easier to detail your car, whether you're doing it for the first time, last time, or just maintenance, when it's clean. Everything's better when it's clean. Now obviously you're going to get called out on now why you're washing a clean car. Obviously the car's never clean. As soon as you drive it, it's not clean. But what I mean is, you don't drive it 20,000 miles without a wash, because everything, you know, your protection gets impacted, contamination. But whereas if you do it clean all the time, it's a lot easier. It's normally, that's why it's called maintenance washing. You're just maintaining all the hard work that I'm about to do. Right, so engine bay is done, obviously top and bottom. So rather than rinsing this, then rinsing that, and then rinsing this again, rinse this top down. Obviously this is the messiest part of the job. This is why you do this first. You're gonna get all the dirt / the soap and the suds down, and then you're gonna rinse this away at the same time as well. All in one job. I've got the heat kind of shield and stuff a little bit wet on this one. I run the engine a bit warmer anyway while I'm inside, just to make sure it's dried out. Because this is the first time I'm doing it. I don't mind getting it wet, but I wouldn't recommend doing it on a regular basis because they tend to sag. Obviously, because I'm on so low pressure, you've got nothing to worry about. Again, people are going to be commenting on this video saying you're going to break your car and your car's not going to work now. I've done it for that long. On my personal cars, I know what's going to happen. Again, if you look, I'm not actually focusing on one area for too long. I just keep them moving at all times. Get as much water into the crevices as I can. Now the famous secret formula. Woo! Yes. So, God, you saw me doing this two and a half years ago now. It's on the first variant of this product. Now, obviously we all know what that's called now. It's the V2 Dress, which is, you know, it's a restorative product. Motorbikes everywhere. It's more of a restorative product than it is a dress product, but obviously it leaves something behind. That's the way it kind of works. But the most important thing, it kind of goes into the substrate, or if you don't know what that is, it goes in underneath the actual surface that everybody sees. So in this particular bottle, I've got 100 ml. To the rest, obviously deionized water. I just like deionized water, less minerals, and that kind of holds the product a little bit better, because obviously it's now going to be put up on the shelf up until I do this next. So 100, fill the rest with water. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to be very generous. Again, engine bay is wet. That's the whole point of this. So anything plastic, especially the hoses, I'm going to spray. There's no science to this. And because the car is, the engine bay is still wet, the water is going to actually travel further down with the product. So you know the parts that you can't actually see. There we go, look at that, beautiful. Now, it's literally as simple as this, right? It's done. I'm going to do a little bit more here. That's how it's done. Now, again, if the people who've watched me from the start, all you're going to see me is now close the bonnet and you're not going to even have a blink. The people who are watching this video for the first time, or you've just joined the channel, say, I'm going to do these bits. You're going to think I've lost my mind. We'll revisit this on the final episode when obviously all I'm going to do now is this. I'm going to close the bonnet leave it. It's going to naturally now mix and absorb with the water, obviously leaving an unbelievable finish. So you will obviously see that. Obviously I'm going to turn this off now. So that's the engine bay done. Super simple. On the next episode, obviously I'm going to do a deep clean of the wheels. I'm going to do the arch flush. The car's going to be in there for probably a week, maybe 10 days. I'm going to double coat everything that I can possibly coat. So glass, paint, wheels, the air inside the cabin. So I'm going to literally, you know, double up on the protection. This car's going to be, you know, used heavily in the winter months. So I need to, while the weather's still, I mean, it's starting to really get cold now. It's about 10 degrees. So that's why I've got my jacket on for the first time this year. So you're going to see me use some new stuff. So I'll catch you on the wheel cleaning episode where I've got a few more things I want to show you. I'll see you soon, guys.